Naomi, Bianca Belair, absolutely the high point of last night's SmackDown 3/7/25. Post-Elimination Chamber, just weeks away from WrestleMania. Both ladies taking the story that they were given and taking it to a whole nother level, to the point where Jade Cargill was not even needed. In fact, involving Jade was more of a detriment because that's the payoff. She left Naomi flat on her back looking up at the lights, nobody holding her back. She could have done even more. She was satisfied. Left her flat on her back looking up at the lights and left the ring. What more do you need to see? I would have left Jade completely off. That's how good Naomi and Bianca were selling their segment. Both in tears. Both you believed. The high point of SmackDown. We'll talk all about it. This is your Full Throttle, bluntly honest as always, most amplified review you're going to get in this community. BC's got you covered. Good to be back with you guys. The low point of last night, if that was the high, the low point, I don't even need to tell you, the tag team division. You're not going to believe what Hunter Helmsley, what he had Nick Aldis, the segment that they had for the tag division. Nick Aldis actually had to explain how confusing this tag division is and how poorly booked it is. They're actually just putting it in a storyline now. They want you to know that they are just as confused. If you missed the show, you're wondering, BC, what are you talking about? You came to the right place. We're going to talk all about the tag team division, the low point of the night. So you have the high point of the night, you have the low point of the night, the most confusing part of the night, no question, the most befuddling, if you take the tag division and put it to the side. It was LA Knight once again becoming United States champion. Now, most of us, we like Knight. We know he should be getting these accolades and championships. Far too late for many of us. But then why would you have the Shinsuke reign in the first place? November 30th Survivor Series when he won that title from Knight. And what has he done? 4 matches. And if you take out the Royal Rumble, Shinsuke's only had 3 matches with that title. One of them was a dark match, by the way. And 2 of those 3 matches that he's had since he's won that title 3.5 months ago, 2 of those 3 matches were against LA Knight. So that was going into last night. That was before last night. Just 3 matchups, guys. And 2 of them were against LA Knight, which LA Knight beat him, by the way. I think they may have been DQ finishes. And then the other one was a victory over Andrade. I'm just giving you guys some past stats so you understand how weird this whole thing is for a lot of us fans. And for most weeks, he was just showing up and creepily like watching from afar others' promos. Or walking up creepily like Braun Breaker does on Monday Night Raw and just walks up to individuals and stares at them all weird. That was Shinsuke's title reign. And then all of a sudden he drops the title over to LA Knight before Mania. Everybody knows these titles should be changing hands at Mania. Man, that's where the faces have their big moment. Why would you not save that moment for LA at Mania if he's going to get the title? You couldn't wait 4 or 5 weeks? No, it's this new trend I'm noticing with Hunter Hearst Helmsley. Every single show has to end with a new champion and pyro going off behind them. Have you noticed? That's the new finish to every single show, man. Every single show. It's Liv and Raquel hoisting up tag titles with pyro going off. They're heels, by the way. Heels getting pyro to end the show. That's an interesting dynamic, but Hunter doesn't do faces and heels anyway. Liv and Raquel, cool. Everybody says, well, BC, so I understand BC, you want the titles, most of them, to change hands at pay-per-views, premium live events. But once in a while, BC, you have to have the titles change hands on the show. That's what keeps it spontaneous. Anything can happen. It's special, right? It's the shock value. I completely agree. SmackDown's Raw, every now and again, every once in a while, you have a title change. Not every show. Liv and Raquel just won on Raw. Then all of a sudden you blink and Io Sky is defeating Rhea Ripley for the champ. Rhea Ripley is losing her title weeks before WrestleMania. Makes no sense. And if they try to put all 3 of them in there for a triple threat schmaz, that makes even less sense. So Liv and Raquel are winning tag titles. Then you blink and all of a sudden Io is winning her title on Raw the very next week, I believe, correct? And then Friday night, you blink and LA Knight is hoisting up a championship with pyro going off. My point is, every single show is ending the same way. Titles are changing hands left and right, so it's going to be pointless when we want to feel a title change, right? At a big moment, a big premium live event pay-per-view. Is it going to be a special, man? We're seeing titles change hands. It's hot potato. In fact, we're getting more title changes than there are storylines today. It's unfortunate. But we just got 3 or 4 title changes in the last couple of weeks. I can't think of 4 over-the-top really good storylines right now. There's just not. So I guess the storyline for Hunter is just championships. Changing hands, that's it. You're going to get new champions on a lot of these Raws and SmackDowns, and that'll keep everybody talking. I have no idea, man. Listen, we're just reviewing the show. I did not write this show. Shinsuke, after that weird title reign, just dropped it back to LA Knight, so they're just playing hot potato with it, and nobody knows what these reigns even mean. And again, it's all before Mania. All of these title changes, and it's not even Mania when all of these title changes should be happening. Listen, a cup of coffee, we got to talk all about it. SmackDown, it's 3/7/25. I say we waste no time. No opening signature. Let me just get a swig. BC's ready. Amplified Groot is ready. We all got our coffee. 44 die. We rolling. Let's do this. We're going to start the show with Randy Orton, by the way. And This was shocking because they were in Philadelphia. You thought the crowd would be just electric from the top, right? Randy is back, first promo in many, many, many months. But that's not what happened. So Randy Orton starts this show, and he actually delivered one of his most amplified and passionate promos of his career. But the crowd treated it like it was bedtime story. I mean, they were seated. If you go back and check this segment out, guys, most everybody is seated. Most everybody is pretty quiet, pretty silent throughout. And Orton ends the promo saying WWE Universe. I thought that was interesting, right? I told you guys, man, a lot of people at first, we were like, man, they're just so trained by Vince to say that. But I told you guys, like, they still want the wrestlers to say that. They don't mind them saying wrestlers instead of sports entertainers. They don't mind them saying fans instead of WWE Universe as much, but they still would like you to say such. They still want you to say WWE Universe, if you don't mind. And Randy will play along. And again, Randy's been there so long, he's trained to say that anyway. But he says, this is a quote, WWE Universe, I'm going to prove that Pat McAfee is the second best punter in WWE. So he wants to punt Calvin Owens, what he did not get a chance to do at Elimination Chamber because he was backed off, ended up RKOing all of the security, the independent local wrestlers there. And Kevin Owens got away. Well, that was the promo. The gist of it is slamming John Cena a little bit, but really going in on Kevin Owens. And if you're wondering about Cena, I mean, that's Hunter Hearst Helmsley doing Randy dirty twice. You guys remember when he came back, Survivor Series last year, not this past, the year before. And you guys remember that was overshadowed by CM Punk's return. So then Randy Orton is gone for many months again, comes back at Chamber, and about an hour later, it's overshadowed by John Cena's, not just his return at the Chamber, but the heel turn. And you knew that moment was going to just take pro wrestling for a long time to come. Still is the hottest topic out there. So Randy Orton completely just derailed twice now. So it's interesting that he was talking a little bit of Cena as well. But Kevin Owens was his big talking point. Says he's going to punt him. So I don't know. I'm not there with this. I know some of you guys are like, yeah, man, this should be good. I'm hoping. I'm hoping it's a good, they add layers to the story, but something just tells us all that if you just study Hunter's If you study Hunter Hearst Helmsley's booking, his creative, if you will, it's just brawls. So I just think that you're going to see a lot of Kevin Owens, Randy Orton brawls as we head to Mania. Just like you saw Cody and Kevin and everybody. It's just brawls. Brawls. That's how you just do everything. It doesn't matter if it's Gunther and Jason Uso. It's going to be brawls. But as we go over this show, there was a couple more brawls last night to further stories. So what makes me believe that Randy and Kevin is going to have layers to this story over the next 4 to 5 weeks? Nothing leads me to believe that. I'm hoping I'm wrong. I'm hoping that this story really ignites to get fans like BC on board with it, because Randy's been gone for months because KO pile drived him. It was a pile driver. Sammy took one. He was back the next week. I'm going to need more, and I know there's a lot of fans that need a little bit more, but Randy had a very passionate, amplified promo. One of his best of his career, I felt. Philadelphia did not feel the same way, or just wasn't feeling this story like BC. They were pretty quiet for this thing. Really took BC by surprise, especially Philadelphia. And starting, you would have thought they just filmed 2 SmackDowns for the following weeks. You know they were in Barcelona next week. So I had thought maybe they did a taping for next week before, and that's why the crowd was drained for Orton. Not the case. They're talking about just holding a tape delay in Barcelona next week. So this was just the crowd not really energetic, not really feeling the promo. Would they heat up with this card heat up, with Hunter's creative heat up? Well, let's talk about it. We go into the first match of the night. This is Tiffany Stratton versus Piper Niven. So Tiffany versus Piper. Tiffany pins Piper Niven via prettiest moonsault ever pinfall. Post-match, Charles Flair sneak attacks Tiffany, takes out her leg, subsequently locking Stratton into the figure 8 leg lock. The best part of all this was Charley wearing traffic cones as boots. Now, I don't know if the team, man, it's been a long week, a lot of travel. I don't know if the team's going to be able to put this up in post-edit, but man, if we remember, I would love for you guys to see these boots that Charley was wearing. They're traffic cones. You know, those orange cones? I mean, there's nothing else, and unless she raided Seth Rollins' closet, which is really just raiding Becky's closet. But that was the best part of all this. This was all weird to me. Tiffany picks up a win over Piper. Okay, I've seen it before. And then Charley, man, if this doesn't tell you how sad this whole return has been, because WWE tried to do the same thing over and over and over, expecting a different result, and it has failed them every time, and it failed them yet again. They thought they could just waltz her back there in the Rumble. She's going to win. She's going to WrestleMania for the championship like always, and fans will just follow suit. Some will boo, yeah, some will cheer. Business as usual. No. This time you notice something happened very quick. Everybody was like, no. Even Charley Flair fans were like, whoa, this is kind of redundant. Like, I can now see what other fans are talking about. This is not fun for anybody anymore. It's that bad. To the point where she just does a weak run-in now to crickets. Nobody even cared. Takes the leg out, figure 8, gets up, and leaves the ring. That's Charley Flair, man. They have bent over backwards for 10 years plus for this lady, giving her all of the rockets that were needed to go to the stratosphere, all of the main events, all of the championships, every top spot, every top position. And that's the booking for Charles Flair. And that's the reaction for Charles Flair. We tried to tell them for years, man, that the years that we've had this channel, we have tried to tell them, switch it up. That's like, could you imagine if Roman never went heel and you kept on doing the force-fed Roman that we got for the first 5 years? Not the Shield. After that, for 5 years when Vince was just shoving him left and right and nobody was buying it. Could you imagine if we still had that same Roman? Here we are over 5 years later. No, it would be just as bad. But they knew they had to switch up Roman. Why they will not do this with Charley is beyond me. We just get the same Charley for 10 years, and we get the same redundancy, and it's not even fun anymore. She shows up and everybody is just like, oh man, get this over with. And sure enough, WWE is now getting it over with. Just go in there, do a 30-second attack, get out, we'll call it. It's a 3-hour show. This is somebody who won the Rumble. And Charley Flair got a quick 30 seconds so we can get the hell off of that segment. Tells you a lot, man. Tells you a lot. We moved on to the end of hour number 1. This is Pretty Lively versus MCMG and Humberto and Garza in a triple threat tag schmaz. Winner takes on the winners of the Street Profits versus DIY match next week, I believe, in Barcelona. So you're not going to believe. Before this all unfolded, Nick Aldis had to explain to us how confusing this division is. And even rolled his eyes when he was done. Let's talk about it. Nick Aldis is in the back, literally with it's like one of those, it's one of those little, not chalkboards, man. Now it's like the marker boards, right? Those marker boards that you would put up at these boardroom meetings. And he's got a little diagram of like all the tag teams on SmackDown or in WWE, who knows. But he's got all these teams. And he's trying to explain to us the last like month, 2-3 months of booking, which is just like all of them have just been intertwined and brawling nonstop. That's it. It's not that confusing up front. You have a bunch of teams. They have nothing for them, so they just brawl every week. But then he tries to make sense of it, and that's when it gets funny. Because he's like, well, then this team, but then this team added here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this team with this team next week in Barcelona. Street Profits will go for DIY. But I will still put, because Lively, MCMG, and Humberto and Garza still have the same beef as Street Profits and DIY. I'll put them in a separate match, but I'll just add the third. So it'll be a triple threat for no reason. There is a reason. I'll take the winner of that. They'll go on and take on the winner of DIY and Street Profits. And he has this diagram of how he came to that conclusion. And at the end of it, he goes, did you get that? And he rolls his eyes as he flips the marker and takes off. In other words, are you as confused as I am? That was a mess to go over. And they actually put that in the storyline. What else can you do? I mean, the writers even know now. Hunter realizes, like, this division is stuck. There's nothing. So they're like, you know what? I don't even know where to begin. Just put how confusing this is in the storyline. Just have Nick Aldis try to explain the confusion and then roll his eyes like, I don't even know what to do with this division anymore. So he puts everybody in one match. Or 3 teams here, then 2 teams. They're supposed to face each other. I still think you're going to get a multi-team schmaz at Mania somehow. Because that's what they always do, because there's no care in this division. It was sad, but it was a laughable moment as well when Nick Aldis was trying to explain the tag division and how much of a mess, how much in the shitter it is. And I've been telling you this. Why do you think the fans don't care about the division? Look at the booking. Every week they're just brawling one another. It gets so old and pathetic. Was it at the chamber when they were all, or was it last Friday? I forgot. All the teams were brawling. There's all of these security, independent wrestlers, referees, suits and ties trying to break them up. They let it go for 5 minutes. The crowd was silent. Nobody cared. They tried to get a let them fight chant. Only like 75 people chanted it. Most probably wanted to chant them. Just chant, stop this shit. Stop this fight. Right? Stop this now. Stop this now. Break them up. Break them up. Nobody wants to see it, man. Nobody wanted to see it in that crowd. They've seen it 100 times. They didn't need to waste all the money that they spent on those tickets. They didn't want to watch that for 10 minutes. I don't blame them. So, again, a weird triple threat here. Pretty Lively ends up defeating MCMG and Humberto and Garza in a tag triple threat. Lively pins Motor City. Interesting, right? Oh, how far Motor City has fallen. When they arrive, they win the championships instantly, and now Pretty Lively is pinning them in this nonsensical, insignificant matchup. Looking up at the lights. Lively pins Motor City. The finish was abrupt. The crowd didn't care, and that was rough to watch. The tag division is literally stuck. I've been saying it sucks for the longest time, but let's just leave the names out of it. Let's just say what it's stuck. It's stuck. And they just can't progress at all. And until Hunter Helmsley puts the proper time, energy, care, resources into this division, this is the division we are going to continue to have to sit through. If you don't make the decision to go outside and play in traffic, because that's a better time. To the second hour, Bianca Belair starts hour 2 demanding answers from Naomi. Nene would come to the ring, her neck brace matching her outfit. I mean, these gals put so much into their look, and I respect that greatly. Put a lot into that presentation. Even if they're in these backstage 20-second segments, you know, the thought that goes into these outfits, these costumes, top notch. Her neck brace matches her gear. I just thought that was... Come on, I gotta spend a few seconds saying props to that. Bianca starts grilling Nene until she finally admits what Jade had already known. But Bianca was grilling Naomi. Naomi kept trying to change the subject, kind of, you know, going in left field with a hockey stick. Bianca tried to keep her on point. This is the question. Answer it. It is yes or it is no. Naomi is in tears at this point before she answers. But she does admit that it was indeed her. She pushed Jade off that ledge into that car. And both at this point are in tears. Bianca, because she's like Bianca is like shaking, not just in tears. Naomi is in tears, and she is now speaking. I've heard 10 years plus of Naomi on the stick, and I'm telling you right now, Naomi was just authentic last. It was like she was just talking to her friend. It's the most authentic you're going to get with these ladies. They just made it like it was just them and there was nobody in the arena. Both in tears. Bianca is shaking like somebody who would just find this information out would act. And Naomi, while in tears as well, she was trying to justify it. Like it's a pathetic act to do something like that, obviously, but Naomi's trying to justify it like the good heel would. Right? So Naomi is literally saying, after all of these years, to watch Jade just come in, as much as I love you, Bianca, to watch Jade come in and ride your coattails, because that's what she's been doing since she's gotten here. She is riding off of you, the championships, the victories, the spotlight. It's because of you, and I could not sit back any longer and watch that unfold. So she's trying to justify it. It was so beautifully done in tears, trying to plead for Bianca to realize Jade is the fake one. This is the real friendship. And Belair just says, no, in tears, us, we're done. We're finished. Drops the mic, probably lucky that she's not throwing a bow over to Naomi. So he goes to just leave the ring. At this point, Naomi is completely flipping out, screaming, Bianca, Bianca, come back here, Bianca, like a scorned lover. She's just like screaming for Bianca, and Bianca's like, no, slowly walking to the back. And that's when Naomi dropped the best line of this whole thing. She says, just like all of these people turn their back on me, you're doing the same thing, you ungrateful bitch. I mean, come on, man. Mic drop. You could even in Philadelphia, that wasn't as electric as they usually are. Even they were like, that was that collective, like, oh, like, dude, you did that to Jade, and then you turn around and call her the ungrateful bitch. Like, that even stopped Bianca. Bianca had to stop at the top of the ramp, and she looked back like, do I come back and whoop that ass? But at that same time, an SUV pulls up. Now I'm thinking, if they have this creatively put, and that's Jade Cargill, cool. If they're just going to have Jade go down there and whoop Naomi's ass, no, don't ruin a good thing. Sure enough, Jade Cargill comes out of that So Naomi stays in the ring, does not run off when she sees Jade get out of that SUV. Bianca stays at the top of the ramp. Jade comes storming through Gorilla, straight through that curtain, stops at the top of the ramp, looks at Bianca. Bianca gives a sign of approval, a nod like, go ahead, do your business. And Jade just gives a little nod back like, yep, here we go. Jade hits the ring. To Naomi's credit, she doesn't run anywhere. Now, if you are going to have Jade hit the ring, I would have had Naomi running heel status. Get out of Dodge. But they had Naomi stay and take a whooping from Jade. And it ended with the Jaded Glam Slam. And I don't understand why they would do that, because then Naomi's knocked out. Jade is standing over her. Naomi's looking up at the lights. Lights are on nobody's home, basically, though. I say looking up at the lights. Naomi's completely knocked out. Jade handled that business, wipes her hands with it, stands over Naomi, and then leaves the ring. So you're telling your audience, done, case closed. It's not a... That's the payoff. That's what you call in the business a payoff. The only thing missing is, I guess, a W if you want to have a match. But this is more than a match. She chucked you over a ledge into a car windshield. This isn't about a match. It's about beating her up. She totally annihilated her at the chamber, and then came out and knocked her out. Looking up at the... When she does wake up, she'll be looking up at the lights. And then she left. So Jade came back, took care of the business. Friendship between Bianca and Naomi's over. Everybody moves on. That's what you're unless Hunter has this really master plan, which he has not shown us he ever has. I don't understand why Jade would have to go out there and handle that business right there, man. Continue that. You could leak that into WrestleMania, especially if you have no plans for Jade and Naomi, which it doesn't look like they do. It's not like Bianca and Jade have tag titles. Are they going to go for them again at Mania? See a rematch with Raquel and Liv? I guess you could see just more rematches at Mania. I don't understand this. This was a good story. You could have culminated this with, because Bianca's going to the title match. So unfortunately, you can't get the Bianca Naomi. That's the money match. But Jade and Naomi could be something good. You got 2 nights of Mania. No harm, no foul. For those saying the match wouldn't be that good, Jade's too green, yada, yada. Sometimes most times, man, the story means more than the match itself. You can go out there and just do body slams, clotheslines, punches, and kicks. And I've seen wrestling matchups. I've had wrestling matchups where I've watched 10, 20, 30 times with just the bare minimum of moves. Cena's 5 moves of doom, or Jey Uso's 3 moves of doom. Not that I've went back and watched a Jey Uso match 30 times. But what I'm saying is you go out there and watch Sergeant Slaughter matchups, Roddy Piper matchups. No, they're not doing flips and dives. They're not doing hurricanranas through flaming tables or anything like that. But Ultimate Warrior, I've seen Ultimate Warrior matches, some of them 30, 40 times, easily. Ultimate Warrior, guys, who the boys in the back will tell you was one of the worst wrestlers, and he was stiff, and he still made you feel, man, when he threw a punch, or he was throwing his kicks, or he was press slamming you, or throwing the shoulder tackle. Guess what? Captivating. I've watched Warrior matches 30, 40 times. I don't remember ever watching a Ricochet match more than twice, any of them. More than twice. And if I did watch a Ricochet match more than once, it was only once. Not saying he hasn't had good matches. Of course Ricochet has. But a lot of fans aren't feeling it to the point, oh, we got to watch that again. Same old. So, yeah, I'm more than okay with Jade and Naomi at Mania. But I don't know how much we're going to need to see if you're already seeing Naomi get destroyed every single show because Hunter can't control himself and just wants Jade to go out there and handle business. So what I'm saying to wrap this up is Jade was not needed in this segment. It was a detriment. Much love to Jade. I'm loving the whole storyline between all 3 ladies. But keep her out, man. Bianca and Naomi were selling that beautifully. And it was sold. Bianca walks out. Naomi is now scorned. Naomi is screaming, calling her a bitch. Man, when Jade enters back in the equation, how Naomi's going to act, you build that. There was no need to have the culminating moment right afterwards. but I cannot praise Naomi and Bianca's segment more than I am. I'm going to give you guys a little behind the scenes, man. We have a lot of travel this week, obviously. No content after the Monday Night Raw live stream. A lot of business, a lot of travel. So I had some business associates with me last night. They were gracious enough to have SmackDown on in the background so I could do notes for you guys while simultaneously doing the business. And I say gracious enough because that's where my attention should have been, with them in the business that we were handling. But they knew about the channel and what I have going on, so they said, no, rock out, man. And they're not wrestling fans. The whole three guys, they were just in the business. They probably didn't even know the show was on, except for one segment. All three of my business associates were not just looked up from their laptops. They were glued to the screen during the whole Naomi Bianca back and forth. Glued to the screen. They're not even wrestling fans. The only time in the show that they even looked up from the laptops. All three, not wrestling fans. They were just, and just like one of them jaw dropped. Like, what's going to happen? Whoa, is this like a real, I mean, that's the tears, you know what I mean? If you're a casual and you're seeing the tears come down and it's that personal and they're screaming at one another and you see like you're watching this friendship just implode in front of you and how well it was done. The casual fans, I witnessed it firsthand, were glued to that segment more than any time. They didn't care about LA Knight beating Shinsuke. They didn't know what a Shinsuke was. They didn't yell, yeah. They didn't care about James Uso versus Drew McIntyre or Randy Orton talking about being a better punter than an NFL punter. They didn't care about any of that. Just giving you a little insight on how well done that segment was. So if you're a fan and you just didn't like it, oh, it was trash. Well, you just didn't like it. Doesn't mean it was bad. It was actually very, very good. Salute. I got to give a proper salute to Naomi and Bianca Belair. Jade played her role, exactly what Hunter had her doing. Jade did everything she was supposed to. So salute to her too. I just would have left that part out of it. Not needed. Do the payoff later. It's sitting in your lap. WrestleMania. Now the payoff is just Naomi. Same situation, just Jade pins Naomi now, right? Naomi, man. I told you. People sleep on Naomi for 10 years. You give her some good stuff. She's not just talent in the ring. She's not just about skill. She'll put a storyline on the back, bro. And if she's feeling it, oh, she can rock that too. Very well done. That was the opening of hour 2, that whole segment. So I did have to take, that was the highlight of the show. So I wanted to take a few extra minutes on that. This was just so well done. We go on to the first matchup of hour 2. This was Braun Strowman defeating Solo Sikoa via DQ when Tama Tonka truck hit the ring. Causes the DQ. Braun Strowman wins. Now post-match, Jake Fatu would come to the ring. Double botch, unfortunately. They start brawling. Fatu attempts a sewer dive to the outside onto Strowman, but he got clipped up on the ropes. He got tripped up, so Fatu barely made it to Braun. Braun tried to hold him up so he didn't land on his face. And then a moment later, Strowman goes to chokeslam Fatu on it through the commentary table, but he barely landed on it. It was just a weak chokeslam. The table does not break. He kind of weakly rolls over it. It was just a bad sequence. They brawl into the stands where Strowman would eventually do another chokeslam to Fatu, and that would go through a table in the crowd, like one of those weird tables next to production that has, some sodas or some, candy. It's a gimmick table just so somebody can go through it. But that was it. Strowman and Jake Fatu brawl. Sound familiar? This is the storyline. Every time Hunter just has two people he needs to promote, you're just going to go out there and you're going to brawl. He's going to give the farm away with the very first offer. There you go. What's the offer? That's all I need to hear. Farm's yours. Wait, man. Let that build suspense. Jake Fatu and Braun Strowman. You're basically now just going to get Braun Strowman, Bronson Reed right? The same, just brawling and probably Wreck-It Ralph style, going through tables, going through LED boards. Anyway, the end result, Strowman defeats Solo Sikoa and then takes out Jake Fatu. Hour 2 ends with Chelsea Green versus Michin in a street fight. A street fight, you know how I feel about these. If it's a street, it better be in the street. No, this was a street fight without the street. So how... That's like giving somebody a fruit basket for their birthday. Hey, here's a nice fruit basket, right, Grandma? Here's a fruit basket, Grandma. And it's got a bunch of crayons and coloring books. Well, don't call it a fruit basket then. Right? Coloring basket, maybe? Call it a coloring basket. You know, street fight, that's just a no DQ match, is it not? No DQ, falls count anywhere, maybe? There's names for this. No holds barred, you can call it, which I think is just no DQ anyway. Yeah, it's the same match. We just give it a bunch of different names. No DQ, no holds bar, street fight. And when they're in a certain city, they'll call it like that. It's a Philadelphia street fight. Well, what made it Philadelphia? What made that different than Seattle or Boston? Nothing. Because we're in that city. Then take it to the Boston street. What are you doing? Take it to you're in Philadelphia. Block off a sector of the street, which easily is done. You just collect a permit like any production would, and they'll shut it down. And all you would need to do is a half an hour to film that. 10 minutes. Do 5 minutes of that right in the freaking street. Done. You have a 10-minute permit. The city will easily give you a whole hour for cheap. Or just go into the parking lot. Make it look like you know where it connects to the street. Boom, that's still theirs, man. That's the arena. So you just do something real quick right there. It just takes care. They call this a street fight. There's no street fight. The best part was Chelsea Green dressed like Cactus Jack going into a street fight. Old ECW. Like, she had the flannel, the Cactus Jack shirt, I believe, underneath. The old pants. It just says Chels instead of Cactus. Man, I thought that was... Chelsea Green is just phenomenal. If I think back at the high points of last night, it was actually the women and their performances, man. Chelsea Green just rocked out. She takes on Michin. B-Fab would chase Piper Niven off with a kendo stick in this matchup. But Michin... Actually, I do have to also say Michin saved a table botch. These wooden tables are so flimsy these days that if you ever watch the wrestlers get on them, they have to slowly and carefully get on top of the table because they will break instantly. You'll see the weight start to shift underneath. That's how easily breakable these tables are supposed to be. So Chelsea had to gingerly get on the table, and it still collapsed. I think like one of the left legs just collapsed. So it wasn't even the wood part, but it just collapsed. So the left part of it is somehow hanging on like the bottom rope still. So it hasn't completely fallen to the canvas. Michin says, I can still deliver that. I'm gonna still do this. Goes to the top and delivers this flying, what was it, like a splash, maybe a senton, something like that. And she still delivered it, and the table broke more. So it definitely saved it, popped the crowd. You know, she didn't get flustered. She didn't think, oh, what do we do? And take her off the table. No, it's still kind of hanging. This could be pretty cool if you still do it. It ended up being cooler than if Chelsea was just laying on the table originally. I hope that makes sense. So a big save there by Michin. Props to her for that. And then Alba Fire, no longer with her tag partner, of course, Isla Dawn. She was released. The company decided not to bring her back or to cut ties with Isla Dawn, so they're no longer a tag team. You haven't seen Alba in a while. Alba comes dressed like the Secret Hervis for Chelsea with Piper, so it looks like the Secret Hervis has gained another member, Alba Fire. Alba takes out Michin, and this would lead to Chelsea retaining her championship, collecting the W in this street fight. Hey, let's see what Alba Fire can do. It still looks like Hunter doesn't totally trust her individually, so he is once again thrusting her with other ladies. Tells you a lot. You know, this is the second consecutive time where he just will not let her do her own thing, and that's different because over in the outside the U.S., Kylie Ray, I mean, that was like, you thought like when she got to WWE, she was just going to rack up titles and accolades outside the U.S. She gets here and it's like Hunter doesn't see any vision solely. And you say, well, basically it takes time. Well, what are you talking about takes time? Since she's gotten here, she was in a tag team with Isla. That clearly failed, and Isla's no longer even with the company. So then she's taken off TV for a while. So you're thinking, okay, now Hunter's going to try something. No, throws her in this situation. How much time, guys? 5 years before she gets a... I mean, you got to remember, Alba is a solo act. Kylie Ray was a solo act. I could see if this was just a tag team, right? The Rockers have to be a tag team for 5 years, BC. Then they'll break up. No. It's just weird to me. But I'm willing to give this a chance. Good to see Alba back. And the Secret Hervis gaining another member with Chelsea and Chelsea leading this little faction. I'm into that because Chelsea is so damn good in her role. And Piper has been phenomenal as the goofy sidekick to Chelsea. So Cody Rhodes would start hour 3 with a 10-minute promo on the events that transpired at Elimination Chamber. This was the follow-up that everyone was waiting for, right? I have not been able to do an amped upload this week for you guys, again, because of travel and a lot of business, but I did see that one of the biggest talking points in the community was the lack of follow-up from the Elimination Chamber and Monday Night Raw not having anything to do with it, really. I wasn't as heated as a lot of the community on that. I think you could just sit with that story. Honestly, would it have been nice to have a little something? Sure. But Cody was actually banged up in that. He took he took a shot from Travis Scott. Travis doesn't really know how to hold things back. He's taking a lot of heat, by the way. I totally understand. It's an ill-advised shot. If you don't know what you're doing, don't do it. And Cody got roughed up from that Travis Scott. It was a punch, right? Busts his eardrum. But, that Travis Scott, man, he made that segment. If you look at those visuals, all of it, he made it so special, man. Like, his actions, the way he was reacting, it made it so just more vivid, more raw, more real. Just good. Rock, Cena, and Travis Scott. Who would have thought, man? But I liked Travis Scott's involvement. It sucks that it was an ill-advised that he didn't need to throw a bow in like that, and he ended up really messing up Cody. But Cody was actually injured anyway, and you want to sell that beating. So what would Cody's purpose on Monday Night Raw would be for nothing. There'd be no reason. Rock is not going to show up 2 days after this just happened, and Jonathan Cena's not. You were not going to get follow-up. You're going to get the video package. It's a 2.5 hour plus show. Monday, you were going to get that video package ingrained in your dome piece 85 times, and that's what happened. I was totally fine with that. Just have something special going forward. What happened Saturday night, let it breathe. I didn't want to see too much follow-up on Monday. I didn't. But just have something going forward. Like, for instance, Naomi, Bianca, Jade. That was another thing, right? No follow-up to that? I'm okay with not having it on Monday. Friday, though, have something. And they did. They did. They hit it out of the park with Naomi and Bianca last night. So, would they do Cody in his storyline as well? The chances of the same night that Naomi and Bianca hit it out of the park, probably not. But at least they brought Cody in, and this was the first time you're going to hear his response, his rebuttal to the whooping he took when Cena turned on him. And The Rock said, no, Cody, fuck you. And Travis Scott taking him out as well. This was Cody's, so it's a big moment. Cody's first words since this beating. So even after last night, I know a lot of people are probably like, that's it? Where was The Rock? Where was Cena? Relax. You gotta, this is the one time where you literally have to say, this is where you just take a step back. Everybody likes to say, or so many people like to say, that Hunter does long-term storytelling, long-term booking. He doesn't, though. On this channel, we show you a billion times how he actually books short-term. He never thinks ahead, and he tells you that every single time he's asked about future booking or how far in advance are his plans. He tells you about loose footnotes. That's it. But he's like, everything changes and you never know and there's injuries. So like nothing is ever set in stone and I just don't know. He tells you that. Mania, to this day, weeks away, he still doesn't have one full night. Concrete, set in pen. It's all pencil with an eraser on hand. He has not one night fully ready to rock. And he's got 2 nights to book for. That tells you that last second, you're going to get a bunch of matches, man. The last week, you're going to get like 3 or 4 more matchups. That's just what's going to happen. Hunter does not do long-term storytelling or booking. It's short-term booking. Short-term. I call it box booking. And I give you guys examples of that every single week. My veteran subscribers will tell you, if you're new to the channel, salute. Buckle up, because you're gonna learn exactly what I am saying. I just don't say it. I give you guys examples of it. But let's stop claiming that Hunter does long-term storytelling booking. And when there's opportunity to actually do it, let's do it. Relax. Cody took the whooping of a life. It's one of the best turns we've ever seen. One of the most shocking turns. We don't need everything answered the next or 2 nights later on Raw or even the same week on SmackDown. Relax. Take it back a few pegs. You'll get The Rock. You'll get Cena. And hopefully it'll feel more special. So I know a lot of people were upset about Monday's Raw, even though I didn't get to do the full review after I was live for the first hour. And then I told you guys in that review that I had some business and travel to take care of, so there probably wasn't going to be a review, and there wasn't. But I knew there was outrage because there was no follow-up and just 85 video packages of what happened Saturday. And I also know a lot of people are probably not happy with Cody's promo last night because they feel nothing is Where's Rock? Where's Cena? Take some time, man. This is huge. This is the one time I'm actually saying, like, take a step back. It's all right. So Cody's out there. He's doing a 10-minute promo on the events that transpired at the Elimination Chamber. No Cena, no Rock. He did what he could. I'm not sure Philly was buying into it. Just like I said, most were not. It's like they were waiting for Cena or Rock or something. So they weren't into this. But they weren't into Randy's promo at the top of the show either. So promos were just not, Naomi and Bianca were so good. Highlight of the night, and even they were kind of like, So Philly was just not feeling the talking anyway last night, but promos are what you need to build stories, especially Mania. So I'm okay with Cody rocking 10 minutes on the stick. But Philly was just not buying into it. But Cody did try. And if you're wondering, Cody just said a bunch of fluff. Everything you would think he would say after this beating, you know? And John Cena, we all looked up to you when you turned your backs on us. And I remember driving you around and looking up to you. And man, to see what you did. And Travis Scott, you son of a bitch. Yeah, it's all the same. You know, there wasn't a ton of substance. But, what do you expect the dude to say? You know, he's just... I don't know, man. I'm not giving a total pass to Hunter Helmsley and the writing team, but let it breathe through. And this is monumental. Let it breathe for a week. Now, starting on Monday night, for a lot of this stuff, and for Cody and the SmackDown crew next Friday, yes, I don't care if they're in Barcelona, you're on a tape delay. We have to start now adding layers to this, no question. But I'm willing to give them a week, guys. It's been 1 week. Not even. Friday night wouldn't have even been a full week from Saturday night's actions and events. So, yeah. Wow, BC's actually giving Hunter a mulligan here. Yes, I am. Relax. Cody went out there, said words. I never expected too much from the first week. Starting next week, all right. And maybe I was just still freaking really high on the Naomi Bianca segment, but this was what it was. Captivating television? No. Philly's response to Cody's promo, didn't do anything to bring in people either. You know, it didn't create an electric atmosphere. It was funny all throughout the night. Tessa Torre is trying to he keeps trying to be like, Philadelphia's electric tonight. And I'm like, this is the quietest I've ever heard Philadelphia in years for a wrestling event. But Tess was really trying, man. Next up, Drew McIntyre pins James Uso via Claymore party. Post-match, Damian Priest attacks McIntyre, and you don't even need a drum roll, they brawl. Hunter's like, Mac, Priest, what story can I tell? I have nothing. Brawl! Priest, go out there and brawl. I'll send out officials. I'll send out security. I'll send out suits and ties. Jason Jordan will be out there. Jamie Noble. Shane Helms will be out there. They'll all be out there. Daivari. You just go out there and you brawl, right? Because I don't think I do enough brawls on television. So Drew Mack and Priest brawl. And then Priest screams to Mac. You could pick it up on the mic. Priest screams to Mac. Every week, every show, it's on site. They just gave away Hunter's booking for these two leading up to Mania. Priest and Mac are going to be on site. And what that means, guys, they're just going to brawl every time they see one another. Great. Awesome. Great. I can't wait for this television. Every show now, I got to have extra popcorn on tap. The coffee's brewing nonstop. This is excitement, man. Priest and Mac are going to brawl on site every show. Can't wait to see these brawls, man. Hopefully they don't put it right next to Randy Orton and Kevin Owens' brawls, because that'll be too close to Bronson Reed. Braun Strowman and Jake Fatu's brawls. And then, of course, when Cena does show up, maybe him and Cody are going to brawl. All the tag teams are always going to brawl. It's a brawl. It's a brawl era. Everybody brawls. The problem is when you brawl all the time, it loses its luster. It's no longer prestigious when you see a really good brawl, or what should be, but it doesn't feel special because you've already seen it too many times. Last week, all the tag teams in that brawl and the crowd didn't care. They were basically silent. This week, they're brawling and nobody cares. You're already starting to see people get worn out by the brawl. That can't be your story for every single feud in the company. And speaking of redundancy and something that is being overdone to the point where it's losing its prestige, championships changing hands on Raw and SmackDown all of the time. That pattern continued last night. The main event was LA Knight and Shinsuke Nakamura for Nakamura's United States Championship. You guys are not going to believe how this match finished. They actually gave this championship back over to LA Knight. Knight defeats Shinsuke via pinfall to become the new U.S. champion again. To which BC was asking the questions as I put in my notes. WTF, what the fuck was Shinsuke's reign even for? This is the opposite of long-term storytelling or long-term booking that I was just aforementioning to you guys. Look at Shinsuke's last 4 matchups, and I'm including Royal Rumble. So after he wins the title from LA Knight, by the way, he took the title from LA, Survivor Series November 30th, and then he had 4 matchups. One was the Rumble, so let's take that off. He's only had 3 matchups going into last night. One of those was a win over Andrade. The other 2 of those 3 were losses to LA Knight. That's it. Since November 30th, December, January, February, into 3.5 months, the guy's had 3 matchups. 2 out of those 3 losses to LA, and now another loss last night to LA, this one for the championship. Every week, he is just creepily watching people backstage while they're cutting a promo 50, 60 feet behind them. In the weeds, in the shadows, is Shinsuke. Like he's lost, like he's trying to get to catering. He would love a cup of coffee, but he somehow keeps winding up everywhere but catering. He's wound up in the bowels of the basement. He's wound up in the ladies' bathroom. Somehow got up on the rooftop, looked around, said, no, it doesn't look like there's coffee up here. And then he sees a promo, and he's like, talent. There's got to be coffee around here. He's looking all around, all creepily, as Morgan is trying to cut a promo, or whoever. What is Shinsuke doing back there? What are you doing, dude? Come out. Stop being a weirdo. Get out. Get out of those weeds. Now, if Vince popped up after Shinsuke, then we'd have to start asking other questions. What's going on in those weeds? But what the fuck has Shinsuke been doing for? I mean, why have him win why stall LA Knight's momentum, whatever momentum he did have? Even with the title, LA Knight's booking was beyond stupidity. That's another story. But why take the title? when just 3.5 months later on a SmackDown, guys, not even a pay-per-view, just a SmackDown, not even the Chamber, not even a B-level pay-per-view, premium live event. And that's Hunter's long-term planning? Win at the Survivor Series in 3.5 months at SmackDown. You're going to give it right back to LA. Okay, but Hunter, that's a month away from it. Don't you want to just try to build a real story between the two that people care about, and then LA Knight wins it at Mania? A big moment? No. SmackDown. Because that'll be right after Io wins on Raw, her championship, and we have Pyro. And then a week previous, we had Raquel and Liv win her matchup, and their tag team titles, and we had Pyro. Every show, we're just going to have Pyro and title changes now. But Hunter, won't that lose its luster? Isn't that going to make it not prestigious going forward? No, they'll love it. Every show, Pyro, it's a celebration. Every single show we're on Raw and SmackDown, guys, we're just seeing champions newly crowned with Pyro going off, and that's how we go off the air. Every single show. Last 2 weeks. So we're no longer at the point where BC, man, once in a while the titles have to change hands on the show. Pay-per-views aren't what they used to be. Now the shows are where the titles are. All the fucking time, bro. Can't you for once just admit you're wrong and just, even if it hurts, just go, basically, you're right, man. You're right. It's becoming a little redundant. This close to Mania, all the titles are changing. What do we need to tune in for at Mania for? Title changes are happening a dime a dozen, man. There's more title changes in the last 2 weeks than Kim Kardashian has had marriages. I don't even know how that's possible, but it's true. Titles changing non-stop, man. Make it. I know, I understand. There's more titles than ever before. I can't even count them. If you include the women, there's 3 sets of tag team titles, correct? 3 sets of tag titles. Is it? Or do the men only have 1? No, DIY and then the War Raiders. If they're still the champions, I'd have to think about that. 3 sets of tag titles. And then the women have mid-card titles and world titles. And then the dudes have the 2 mid-card, the 2 worlds. There's a speed championship. I don't even know. And I'm probably missing... Am I missing one? I don't even... That's a lot of titles. It's a lot of titles. So I know, Hunter could have a field every week, every show. He could change titles. But, whoa, every show is just ending with Pyro going off because a champion has been crowned. What the fuck where are the big moments, man? No wonder these champions don't feel prestigious. The moments are not prestigious that they're winning them in. And the people losing the titles, that is the ultimate disrespect. It's pretty much putting an exclamation point on a shitty title reign, right? Because it ended just as shitty. So props to LA, man. I know it sounds like I always want the best for LA. I never felt he should have actually won that title when he did. And I like Shinsuke too, but I just knew that Hunter had nothing planned. So why do it? Here we are 3.5 months later, and BC was absolutely right. There was nothing planned. He had no plan. You saw that in Shinsuke's booking for 3.5 months. You saw LA's booking for 3.5 months. And then all of a sudden, weeks before Mania, he wins the title. So I don't know what I'm supposed to say. Wow, what a match. What a new champion. This is awesome. I can't say that to you. This is all so stupid. And just weeks before Mania, LA Knight has his moment on a SmackDown. But new champion every single show. These are with Pyro. Who's gonna win Monday, right? We'll have a title match on Monday, right? Who do you guys think is next? One of the maybe the War Raiders lose their titles. Some heels will win it, and all of a sudden there'll be Pyro going off for the heels. New champions. Good night, everybody. It's another celebration. Back in the day, we would just end on cliffhangers, right? Stories that had you captivated. You had to tune in the next week. Must-see TV. Not just, oh, I have free time, so I guess I'll watch TV. It was must-see. There's no cliffhangers anymore. Hunter has gotten so damn lazy that he's just like, have the title change. You sure? Mania's next month. Have the title change. Sir, are you sure the last several shows we ended with a title change in Pyro? Yeah, celebrations. We're better than Disney World. We got more Pyro, man. When our show concludes, we'll have more Pyro than any Disney show could possibly deliver to you. Come to a WWE show. We'll put a smile on your face and we'll give you fireworks. Even if the bad guys are winning, the heels, because we don't do that anymore. They're all just wrestlers. This was a very weird ending, man. I want to be happy for LA, and I am to a point. But wow, does this do nothing for either dude. And we just, for 3.5 months, went in this weird, pointless circle. There was no reason for it. LA's got the title back. Shinsuke is no better off than he was 3.5 months ago when he came back and won it. And LA is no more over than he was winning it last night than he was when he first had it 3.5 months ago. Hopefully that makes sense. If it doesn't, yeah, join the club. None of this does. BC's just trying to make, I'm like Nick Aldis with the damn marker board, right? I'm trying to make it all make sense, and at the end we just roll our eyes and ask, did you get that? That's SmackDown 3/7/25. Good to be back with you guys, man. For BC and my entire Amplified Unit 44 dive, that's a wrap. Until next time, and there will be that next time. Top guys, we are out. BC saying check you. Salute!